Dum da dum dum. Put a little cloud lifter. I put a little cloud lifter on my SM7B here. Hopefully that is good for volume. Good for volume. We shall see, we shall see. Beep, 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 beep. Just making noise so it sounds like I'm not just ignoring the world. Ooh, the thumbnail it picks is weird. Sapphire. Well, hello there, everyone. Okay, I can get after this. I'm in full cam mode, but watch this. Whoosh. I can whoosh over to the current application view where it's going to show my screen in my little Sigma OS browser that I'm trying out. And then I can position myself. I guess I don't mind that I'm down here in the corner. Feels like I'm looking the wrong way though. Like if I put myself up here, it would I'd be looking down at the screen. That seems better. But maybe not. All right, so the idea is to look at import maps. Do you know what an import map is? Chat, import map. I guess it's an HTML, even though it's kind of a JavaScript concept. It's like this. It's a script, and it's not of type JavaScript. It's of type import map. And there can only be one of them at the moment on any given HTML document, and you chuck it in the head or whatever, and then you put some JSON in there, and yet another example of this invented syntax of JSON becoming reality. It looks like this, and then there can't be multiple. Yeah, I've heard since recently, but I don't think the browser support for multiple import maps is all the way across the board yet. So I'm trying to respect the one at a time thing for CodePen for now. So I always thought, like when you see an import that looks like that's sitting in a JavaScript file, it before import maps, that would just be invalid JavaScript. It'd be at least invalid import syntax, because it doesn't start with a slash, and it doesn't start with a dot, and it doesn't start with HTTP. So it's like, what does circle mean to the browser? Circle is meaningless. It has no meaning whatsoever, but it does now because this JSON represents it. So the browser sees this first or whatever. At some point it knows that imports might have these, and I believe they're called bare module specifiers. Fantastic, right? And now this is meaningful, and it basically gets swapped out. So it's going to import name as circle name from this URL now. And it's a nice feature. There could be versioning built in up here, and then you're only changing it in one place and then not tons of different other places. Not to mention, it just looks a little neater in your JavaScript files, which I think is a thing that people really appreciate and like. So that's kind of what import maps are. And as somebody who works on CodePen, they've been interesting to us for a while because you just see its usage a lot. I think 3JS recommends that. So in the pens on CodePen that use 3JS, we see import map usage quite a bit. And it just works out nicely, especially this particular syntax where it points to kind of a cloud CDN hosted version of NPM, of which there are multiple things for that. Yeah, right on. That's cool. That's what import maps are. So how does that relate to CodePen? That's kind of what I want to look at today, because this is hot off the presses. Like this week we rolled this out, and it went from kind of like, gosh, how are we going to temporarily support packages better than we do now, until we have more full on NPM support. Because as you'll perhaps know on CodePen, we don't run a node server for you. We don't have a traditional package.json and run npm install on it that pulls down your dependencies and stuff. We don't do that. But of course, modern front-end web development is still fairly package dependent, or not dependent, that's not the right word, but people like to use their packages, that's for sure. And I want to be able to support that. And kind of a classic way to do it is just link up crap from CDNs in a way that we've encouraged for a while, is this website, esm.sh, and not only encourage but kind of help you do. It's just a nice little website where if you put at the end of it like React or whatever, React, that's the name of the package that matches what it is on npm, and you get a URL that spits out some JavaScript that, you know, pulls it in from the little like self-hosted version of this that has ran it through something, Rollup or Vite or something that has made this kind of like ESM ready. Because it's, notice the URL is esm.sh. It's not supporting like common.js or anyone. Yeah, ESBuild. That's exactly what it is. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. It runs it through ESBuild, and ESBuild makes it kind of, or attempts to make it ready for ECMAScript module imports or whatever. Pretty nice thing, right? So if you go to the old school CodePen, production CodePen as it exists right now is, oh gosh, my computer's yelling at me. How to screencast. I bought this course earlier today. And I was listening to this screencasting thing, and now the tab is not open. God, this is a bug in this dumb browser. I apologize. I'm sure you can hear it. The tab isn't even open anymore, but it's the browser's spitting the audio at me. I gotta quit my browser. What a joke. This is it's not exactly a beta browser either. Did you hear that? It just started doing audio. And I had that tab open earlier, but I got rid of it because honestly, it's because it kept auto playing that video and I didn't understand why. All right. Where were we? And by suggesting esm.sh, it would be like this. If you typed import React from React, CodePen was smart enough to be like, oh, yo, we don't actually support that in a way, but would you just like to use esm.sh? We'll just flop that out for you real quick. And that absolutely does work. Oh, my sharing. Thanks, Potch. You'd think this thing would have picked up on it. If I do that, it should be okay. I don't like how it doesn't scale, though. I need to switch it to... Is that going to do it? It worked, but now it's all... I don't want to share it. Look at that. It's way too big. I like it when it kind of zooms in. Dum-da-dum. Oh, there it goes. That's better, right? I'm going to even make it scaled better. Excuse the streaming trouble, team. Jeepers. All right, this is what I was trying to say. This is like production CodePen today. Very simple. The 3 panels, probably you've seen it, right? If you want to use something off NPM and you're just to copy and paste some crap from a tutorial or whatever, it's often like import React from React or Vue or something. In this, in the quotes, and it doesn't start with HTTPT, it doesn't start with a dot, it doesn't start with a slash. That makes it a bare module specifier. Bare, I just get to say the word bare a lot. That's pretty cool. We know we can just parse that and realize, dude, that's not going to work on CodePen, but I know what you're trying to do. If it's cool with you, we'll replace it with an esm.sh link, and that totally does work. So we're just trying to help you with that. But I think that's fine in the old editor, but the new editor is way fancier. I don't necessarily want to do that. There also is like a little bit of vendor lock-in stuff. I mean, I don't even know anybody at esm.sh. I don't know anything about that. So it's like a little risky that like, what if that were to go away someday? We would solve that as a company somehow. We'd figure it out. And in the end, it wouldn't be your problem. But it's like, yeah, it's not that great. They do this is totally open source and you could host it yourself. We probably should have been doing that long ago and plan to do that in the future as well. That shouldn't be a big deal. You just, you gotta make time for it or whatever. How can we leverage that in the 2.0 editor? I intend to show you right on. So now we know what import maps are, and we know CodePen's interest in them, sort of, kind of. I just thought this was particularly impressive because my goal is that when you like find code out on the internet that has bare module specifier stuff in it, that you can copy and paste it and generally let it work. So I was playing with lit the other day. Have you ever seen lit? I know I'm jumping around topics, but it's related. I'll bring it all together, I promise. Lit is just one example of a framework that helps you with web components. Web components being the like angle bracket, make up your own HTML thing that when HTML finds it, it executes some JavaScript and it has shadow DOM and all that fancy stuff. I kind of like lit. I think it's a nice little abstraction for a web component. I think it took a while to come around to what it is, but it's kind of cool. Right on their homepage, just lit.dev, it's not buried in the docs or anything, is this little custom snippet. And this is the kind of thing like I imagine people coming across and being like, I want to actually play with this. They have a playground of their own, of course, but we have a playground too, darn it. I want this kind of thing to work. So what would happen in the new editor if we were to try to run that code? Well, we know it's TypeScript, so let's just make sure we make it TypeScript by making the file name .ts. You can see that it adds the TypeScript block. If you haven't seen blocks, that's anything that processes code becomes a block. You can see it run in the build process here. Now we have TypeScript, and I'm just going to paste what I got from there and otherwise not change anything at all. I had to make a little tweak on this the other day because this at syntax here is it's just a new JavaScript feature called decorators that are kind of cool. It's weird that lit leaned into them so hard here because even TypeScript, you need to have your experimental decorators true on to work. And we didn't have that in our default TypeScript config. You can add it at any time and let it work. But I was like, I think we should flip it on. I think decorators are cool enough that CodePen is like an experimental place, so I put it in our default. So now that's just running. We can look at our build output and see that it produces TypeScript runs and processes it down into JavaScript that you never need to look at. But that's what TypeScript does for us, especially when we're using experimental features like that. And it just kind of runs. But what does it do? Well, it enables us having this simple greeting element that we weren't seeing anything because we weren't actually using that element. So if I go into our HTML and underneath our hello world, I put the greeting there as well. That should just execute. And it's blue for some reason. It's because the default, is that on there? Did they put color blue in the example? What a weird color to pick for your like homepage snippet or whatever. I think that's slightly strange. But it should re-execute if we were to save and rerun this beast, right? Heck yeah. All right. I mean, that was kind of like, that's a beautiful moment, if you ask me, because it's like, wow, my dream has come true of being able to grab stuff like this, including imports with bare module specifiers, and have it just work in an environment like CodePen where we're not pulling down your dependencies necessarily. So how does it work? We started off talking about import maps, but we didn't actually use any import maps here. So how is this working? Well, first of all, I think web burnout is very right. It's got to be cornflower blue. Cornflower blue. Is that real? I've literally never used that. Potch thinks it should be papaya whip, so if it doesn't, cornflower blue is nice actually. Man, I don't know, you guys have some excellent color suggestions here. Cool. It's nice that they even put the syntax is exactly how we had it. Our hello world is capital hello, comma space, capital world, exclamation point. I feel like you could do a whole blog post digging into the like etymology, not sure if I used that word correctly, of hello world, and like, is it just a space? Did they use a comma? Did they capitalize it? Like, what was the first it was ever used in computer science? How did they do it? Anyway, I like it how we have it, obviously, but I'm glad lit.html agrees with our particular hello world syntax. So we get 2 of the same in a row. All right, import maps. Import maps. There is no import map here. How does this turn into functional code here? How does that work? Well, that's the kind of magic that we just shipped into the private beta here. And again, not everybody has access to this. You got to email me at the moment. We'll have a public beta soon enough, but if you want access, I can get you a feature flag. You got to know a guy, but he can hook you up. You just got to join our Discord, and we wrote some fancy code to DM it to you and whatever. Right on. If we dig into this, we'll see that there is actually an import map here. I have to slum it a little bit here in the Safari DevTools. This is the browser I'm using. Uses that. Why is this all grayed out? That's just like one more weird thing with Safari DevTools. It's like, oh, the head element, we'll just make everything gray in there. Why? Why would you do that? Here is the import map. There is an import map in there. How does it know how to do that? It's just one of the many, many magical things that the new CodePen compiler can do. So it's basically is looking at your code, and it's seeing that there's a bare module specifier here, and that it's going to need to use that bare module specifier, and it crafts this import map automatically for you. But look, it's using esm.sh. We'll probably replace that with our own hosted version of esm.sh. Their code, our servers, that kind of thing. And it's got a version in there too. It just has figured out what the latest version of lit is and uses that automatically. But you have control over that too. Notice that the CodePen compiler has scaffolded. That's what we call it when a new file is just automatically created for you in your pen, and it uses the industry standard package.json format. It doesn't have all the stuff in here like title and all that, but this is a valid package.json document. So if we needed to be a version behind on it, we could adjust it, save our package.json file, and we could see in the import map that gets injected here, it'll be version 3.3.0 instead. So this is an editable file. It is kind of enforced by our compiler. That's just how it works at the moment. If I were to delete our package.json, it's fine. We're considering making it kind of a protected file. When the build runs again, it's going to be like, dude, you have bare module specifiers. We're going to need to add those, and it re-scaffolds out a package.json for you. We could use some feedback on that, but that's probably going to be how it's going to ship, probably. So it's just kind of cool. You can kind of just pretend like you have NPM. And for the most part, you're going to have NPM. Now, it's just esm.sh hosted links. So you're like, whatever, NPM stuff that runs in Node and really only has relevance and context there isn't going to do anything for you in the browser. It's for browser specific packages, but I think people know that you're writing front end code in here. There's no, you can see there's no terminal here or anything like that. So I think hopefully that's fairly straightforward. I don't know. I was just very pleased when both the TypeScript worked perfectly and the import map for these dependencies worked perfectly and quickly and just fine. So good job. It was kind of one of my little micro dreams is to be like, there is a build process technically because, we're using TypeScript here, and that's part of a build process required to run TypeScript. We wouldn't have had to do that. Lit has just JavaScript as well. Anytime I've never used TypeScript and Lit together. Pretty much, but then we would have pretty much no build process. But in the CodePen's new editor, there will always be a build process running, even if it's just totally static, because we're going to run our static block stuff that we're always going to run. For example, we're going to just like make sure your pen is okay and in good shape and not all busted up and stuff. We're going to fingerprint your static assets so that they're always as efficient as they can be and cache busted and all that stuff, particularly important when you deploy it. Or also help you link stuff up. For example, if this was a SAS file instead of a CSS file, and you were like, oh, how do I link that up again? Because you don't necessarily, not everybody in the world understands that this is going to produce a style.css file. You could just put the CSS file there. That's not valid code. That wouldn't work in the real world, but our link block is helping you with stuff like that and making sure that that continues to work. So that kind of thing. So there's always going to be some kind of build process, but still, near and dear to my heart is writing web codey stuff that that requires as little build process as possible. So I think a lot of us have worked with JavaScript frameworks in the past, and for better or worse, it requires a build step and processing and stuff. But there's stuff that I think we're all going to end up liking that ended up being good. Architecture for web apps is to have something like a components folder, and we have a folder in there called greeting or whatever. Isn't that what this thing is? So we could abstract the code that we wrote, and we could put it in greeting.js, chuck it in there, and then our TypeScript file. Oops, it needs to be TS, right? TS. That this script just imports. Well, now we have to export the greeting too, right? Oh, it is already exported. Export. Should we make it default export? That way we can just call it whatever we want when we import it. Import greeting from, and now we're not using a bare module specifier. We'll link up our own thing. /components greeting.js. Right on. Let me catch up with the chat here. Pity import maps can't come from source. Yeah, that sucks. Doesn't it? It's like a web manifest. Those can be outsourced. I think it's something about speed, probably. Like, instead of having to do a network request, like, it really needs to get parsing your JavaScript really quickly. And if the bare module specifiers are going to be mapped differently and stuff, it needs to know that information really quickly. That's what I assumed was going on there. Why isn't it finding this? Oh. Can we just JS it and let TypeScript? I don't know exactly what's going on there. Yeah. All right. So that, I kind of like that architecture. I also dream of like this day where we can go like greeting.css in here and have one of them import the other one. Now the leading / our link block should know what's going on there. I think in that. I get what you're saying, but like I'm almost used to writing slashes in this new editor because it's pretty cool. Should it be .ts on the import? I don't think so, because even when you're writing TypeScript files generally don't import other TypeScript files, or at least in our code base it doesn't. Let's try it though. I think there's something we need to look at with that. I think TypeScript will be confused at that. Yeah, it'll be like an import path. This is just, we're not inventing these error messages. This is just TSC spitting out what TSC spits out. So it says an import path cannot end in a TS extension. Yeah, we could try that. No extensions. But then it's just going to grab the JS that's sitting there. I mean, this is ultimately client side. Yeah, maybe we'll look at our TypeScript config or something. I know it's talking. Well, I guess we could just try and do what it says. Module resolution. Do we just put it in there? Module resolution to node. That seems wrong to me. I don't think that's going to fix it. No, now it just can't find it because there's no type. So you'd have to have one of those .d.ts files or some crap that blah, 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 blah. There's probably some way to do this. You want to fix it for me? You can email me and I'll give you the feature flag and stuff. All right, I'm going to make that just JS because that got us around the weirdness for now. JS. It does require a little bit of knowledge knowing that thing is going to turn into JavaScript. You could discover it though, because we do have this build output thing. In fact, I think I can just drag individual files out. So you could see, for example, I could open these. I could open them in two different tabs. This file turns into this file. This one that says build output at the top is the one that's being served here, essentially. So you can always kind of see what the raw output of files is, which is kind of nice. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I kind of like this idea, like only because this mimics an architecture of a JavaScript framework that requires a bunch of processing, but this one doesn't. I just think that's nice. I like this idea of components and CSS files kind of co-located. I think that's cool and neat. Can we pull it off though? I don't know. Like lit doesn't have the nicest way to do it. You'd think lit element, being this fancy framework, would have some kind of like method or something that says go get the CSS file that's sitting right next to me and use it. But it doesn't. As far as I know, they're really like almost anti that or something. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Potch. Import type assertions for CSS would be sweet. I don't even think TypeScript likes it. Not that I really care. We could just bail out of TypeScript here, but what Potch is talking about is like import styles from, and then you do like greeting.css and then with type. Do you have to do, you don't have to do that. Type CSS. TypeScript is going to be the thing that doesn't like it, but I'm also in Safari technically in this Sigma OS, and it's not going to like it either. But that would give us a, I believe you call it a constructed style sheet, and then however you access the DOM in lit, you know, this dot shadow root or whatever. I guess you do it in the constructor or something. You could say shadow root. What is it? Adopted style sheets, or there's some kind of thing like that, and then I think you have to even spread styles into it. There's some kind of syntax like that, but that's just get the CSS file, make it part of the shadow root. I think that would rule. We're just not there yet as a people, as a society. So instead, and we can't even put it in here, but we could put it in here, I think. You can just rock a style tag. This is like my least favorite way of styling web components in the world. It's just been my long-standing gripe with web components is how weird it is. But then here we could do an import statement for a using that URL syntax, right? So components greeting dot CSS. That should roll, right? And then what's in it? How should we style it? We got to get rid of cornflower blue, or here we'll make this like a strong tag or something. Oops. I always accidentally hit the, what is it? Is it P? Emmet? No. A? There's a wrap with abbreviation. How did I forget that? Anyway, I'll find it later. I'm just streaming, so my brain doesn't work as it normally works. We'll put a strong tag in there, and then in greeting CSS, is this syntax look correct? Yeah. We'll say that strong tags are color red. So we'll know if it works if it imports that and it makes this strong tag red. Oh, duh, yeah. That is very satisfying, isn't it? I think so. I don't know how efficient that is, because then now client side, this script is executing because it's being linked up here. And by the way, I wonder, did we finish this? You know how there's an import statement there, so this should break if it doesn't have that. You see Copen put it back? We just shipped that this week too. It's like, dude, you absolutely need type equals module on that script. Like it's not going to work without it, and it's definitely a mistake. So we're just going to put it there for you. Let me know if that feels like too magical to you or not, but I think it's cool. Watch, I'll do it again and then trigger a build. It's going to be like, nope, it needs to be type module, so deal with it. So in the client, the browser is going to get just this one file. Then it's going to make a web request for this file. It's going to get it. And then that file is going to make a web request for this file. So it's a little like waterfall-y or whatever, but I just generally think that's not the world's biggest deal. Andrew thinks it's too magical. I don't know. It just ran into the air so much that we decided to roll with it. We'll see what we get for wider feedback, but it's it's a patch. I don't know. That's what we call a patch, is what we call when we automatically do some code for you, like even this package.json that came down is a patch, but it's an entire file patch. So if you miss that, note this too, like you kind of have to have it. Our build process requires it. So it's just going to put it back if you delete the file. So there you go. I don't want to have there be absolutely too much magic. So, we'll see. I think there is some way out of it that we discussed that wouldn't actually have to do it. I don't know if it's a code comment or if you put your own type on there, it's not going to mess with that, like it's wrong, but you'll be warned from that on your own. It's not going to remove something that you coded. It's just if it's entirely missing, then you get it back. Yeah, sweet. What else was I saying? Yeah, I guess we were kind of talking about the performance of stuff like this. Like, is that acceptable? Can you ship a production project these days? If, let's say, we had lots of these, if we had another folder in here that was our card component, and card had card.ts, and then this thing became just a huge card from this, and we had 100 of them in there, and it's making all these web requests. Is that like acceptable that it's not being bundled? I mean, certainly we're going to support bundlers on CodePen too. We'll bundle this for you if you want. I'm just talking about my personal dream of like a very low build process kind of thing. Yeah, a fancy comment up here that would stop it from doing stuff. I think that's how Prettier works, isn't it? Like if I do something really dumb in Prettier, like I want this indented this far, it's going to leave me because I don't have Prettier on. But if I add the Prettier block, and again, that's, TypeScript, just a moment. I'll circle back to the Prettier thing. TypeScript doesn't like it when you don't do anything. Export default const x equals 1. Do you like that? Well, you don't even like that? Oh, shush. What did I do wrong there? I don't know. I'm at a loss. Isn't that how you write that? Did I spell something wrong? Default. I don't need you. You were just a demonstration anyway. Oh, no, it's a default JS. What if it's an object? Wow, you're really mad at me, TypeScript. I don't even care. You're gonna get deleted. Yeah, this was just a demo anyway. I don't need that. I don't need you ruining my stream card. Yeah, the Prettier thing, because we were talking about comment directives. I guess that's how I think of it. This is going to leave it alone. But as soon as we were to add the Prettier block, now Prettier processes code, so it's going to be a block in our new world. It's going to become part of the build process. It's part of the build process here at the top of the build process. This is the first thing that runs. So if I hit save, Prettier runs on save. Ooh, it's got a bunch of work to do. Yeah, there it pulls it back in, but you're like, no, Prettier, I want it all the way over here. You have to go like Prettier ignore. Did I get that right? Do you have to put an at in front of it? And then do I have to put it one line lower? No, I got it right. Anyway, that's a command directive. Don't hate it. Don't hate it. Even TypeScript has its own crap. That's one way I could have got around that problem, right? Is you can do a ts ignore, and there's also a at ts. There's one that's like ignore the whole file. I forget what it is. We don't really need a ts ignore there, but we're going to actually have to do that on TypeScript files that are ported from the old editor, because we have TypeScript in in the editor of CodePen now. It's just that it it didn't go run through TSC really. We didn't even really report on type problems. So when we convert old pens to this new format, the chances of it being littered with TypeScript errors is going to be high. So we're going to have to put that comment at the top of converted pens that's like, chill out, TypeScript. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. All right. Well, I was hoping to do more import mappy kind of stuff. Should we try to make React work without looking anything up? That would be kind of interesting. I don't really need this pen, but Streamlit demo, I'll call it, so I can decide whether I'm going to delete it later or not. We could try it. New editor. And this one I think will be, I know everybody's hating on my magic in here, but there's going to be even more magic in this one. So import React from React. I think this is working, and it's going to do multiple things, because there's a lot you can imply from a line of code like that. For one thing, we know that you're going to need Babel, because the bare module specifier of React is like, dude, we're just going to add Babel for you, because I know you're about to write some JSX. So there's that. What is the package name for React DOM? I haven't done this in a long time. Oh, get out of there. Import. I'm already going to fail. It used to be like this, and I feel like that's maybe wrong now. All right, we'll look at the React docs. My finger speed is faster than this browser makes new tabs, which is annoying. Oh, come on. Come on, React docs. You know that we're going to need to import you at the top of our files, don't you? CDN. Come on now. Installation. React rep from scratch. There you go. Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's this React DOM client. That's what it is. God, you got to scroll a lot to get that. So we need React, but we need that too. Hopefully that works. I didn't close those docs, did I? We're going to need that. And then we're going to need that. Look at that line of code. That's a hell of a line of code for the React docs. Just wipe out the inner HTML of your entire body. Yeah, why not? Seems like a good plan. So we need an app meaning one of these bad boys, app, for it to attach to. How are we going to do? Oh, that's Grammarly. Can you see it when I hover over it? No, because that's weird that you can't see my Grammarly pop up. Oh, that's obnoxious. I need to quit that app. It's way too ambitious. Let's see how it did. Let's see how the import map did. I suppose I could just look in the... Did it make an import map? Yes, probably. Pulled React and React DOM, and they're the right versions, it looks like, and they're coming from the right locations. It appears to be anyway. So we did kind of good. And then we're going to render hello world. Oh, that is. Oh, look, it's a... Oh, that's hilarious. That's a callback. React has a different, slightly different, I hate to say syntax, but they use lowercase world with no exclamation point. Suspect. I'm much more of an uppercase world with exclamation point type myself. So just so you know, React. Anyway, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. Well, we just kind of had to remember what the syntax was for how you do the imports and then use it. That's satisfying to me. I mean, React has not been CodePen's strong suit, certainly, but now we can certainly live in this world where we're rocking the like components, and we don't have to make folders and stuff just for demonstration, but certainly we could have a card, not JSX, export default card, is a function card. How do you do React? Return. Can you just rock a div? I am a card. Is that valid syntax? Do I need to import React in this file too? Questionable. So now in this we can import card from components card.js. Does it get turned into JS? Components card. It does, but it's capitalized. Oh, I capitalized it, thank gosh. So then instead of hello world here, I could rock a card. Oh my gosh, is that going to work? No, it's going to be mad about something. I bet it's mad about this. That should be a better error. Be cool. I bet it needs React here, right? There it is. Gah. As somebody who's worked on this for as many years as I have, seeing this all come together and actually work correctly is very satisfying. All these features, it's doing it quickly, and this import map thing has really opened up some new doors in a satisfying way. That's a proper React project, really. And sure, you want to add Vite and have it bundle all nicely and stuff. We'll support that too. And actually, it might already be in there. The Vue stuff is working better at the moment. Vue and Vite is working pretty well. I don't know if we have Vite React in there just yet. Rock and roll. I have a therapy appointment in a little bit. It's just maintenance, though. Don't worry about me. I feel good. It's just a healthy thing to do. So I'm gonna have to end the stream pretty quick here. Yeah, we talked about import maps. I want to make a bunch of more demos and examples to make sure that's clear. The meeting I was in today was like, we're gonna explain what we're doing with the import maps in this process, so that it's more clear what's happening. Because right now it's just kind of pure magical. So look for that coming soon. And thanks for hanging out for a while. Very fun. There's probably more people in here than I ever have had on a stream. So I really appreciate that. Take care, y'all. I'll be back tomorrow because I'm trying to do this every single day just for fun. Bye-bye.